Hey, everybody, and I really appreciate the patience. As I'm sure you can imagine, the hearing, 4 hours long, witness testimony. Katie had to take the stand. It was an emotional day for everybody, and wanted to process how things played out. And I'm happy with the judge's decision. I think the community should be happy with his decision. If you didn't see the article, I suggest you go read the article so that you can get a clear understanding as to what is exactly going on right now. We're going to touch a little bit on it in this video, but everybody should be happy right now because justice was carried out in Westmoreland County on August 29th, Friday, August 29th. And so let's jump a little bit into, what's going on because there's a lot of people just joining us now. Greatly appreciate all the support. Could not do this without everybody's support. So this was from May 30th. This was essentially a hearing was set for the high-speed crash. Now, this was defense attorney Charles Porter, who is representing Nolan P. Mullen, 22, requested the hearing after Judge Scott Mears last month rejected a plea agreement that was reached with prosecutors. Now, I'd like to discuss a little bit of how that plea agreement process went. So the district attorney's office had reached out to my family and, they wanted to have us come out to meet them because the hearings kept getting continued. I mean, even to just get this process started. And they wanted to discuss some things with us. So we had decided it made more sense to do a Zoom call. So we did the Zoom call. And on that Zoom call, Assistant District Attorney Anthony Lamorelli, while in the presence of Detective Tony Marcacci and the Elaine, the victim's advocate, had told us that the Commonwealth decided that they were going to give him a plea. And that plea involved, we'll talk about it in here, but we made it clear to him from the very beginning that we weren't okay with this plea. So the plea was rejected, and the deal that they wanted to give would have allowed Mullen to be placed on house arrest with electronic monitoring in exchange for a guilty plea to lesser charges. They wanted to drop the aggravated assault by vehicle. And what we were told by the assistant district attorney was that it was because of a sight distance issue, which, when somebody's doing 90 miles an hour, there's not a sight distance issue. When they cross the double yellow line and hit you head on, there's not a sight distance issue. So, there was a lot of emails back and forth and some, colorful words that I threw in Anthony Lamorelli's direction because of, his total lack of respect for the victim's wishes. It's not right that Katie would have to, move on in her life with these new disabilities that she has while he does a little bit of house arrest, and he doesn't get a felony. So, we from the beginning made it known that we weren't okay with that. And clearly nobody was okay with what Judge Mears did because then they made a second attempt to recuse him from the case. And it was successful on the second attempt, and I completely understand why it happens. And I appreciate Judge Mears' service to the community as far as, overseeing my family's case while he was able to do so. So then we move into Judge Michael Stewart's courtroom. And, if you were sitting in there and you heard some of the things that were said, this is a very well written article. I would like to thank Renata Signori. I hope I pronounced that correctly, because her articles are always fair. And what I mean by fair is she doesn't omit details because they're uncomfortable. See, Joey, I hate to come at you, buddy, but that's kind of what you do. You write things in a manner that is very one-sided, and you omit, details that are important for the community to have so that they can make a fair and honest assessment for themselves. But, Renata, she sticks, and I'll point out some of the things that I think would make the community uncomfortable. And, community, you let me know if these things make you uncomfortable. 3 witnesses testified about the crash scene. Alexander Jones said he had to swerve on Clay Pike Road to miss Mullen, who was fishtailing around a bend and came into his lane. Morshide pulled out behind Jones. She was unconscious at the scene, and Craig Stahl testified that he saw Mullen laughing. That's a fair article. I mean, that's a fair article. The public needs to know that he was laughing at the scene. It's ridiculous. So yeah, so but did it just go its natural course to where we are today? Absolutely not. It took a lot of pressure, both from myself in the beginning. It felt like just me, but then as God always does, when you cry out for help and you remain faithful to the mission, and you know what's right and you know what's wrong, and you don't falter, and you come, dedicated day in and day out with this relentless urge, you just cannot do anything else but get to the truth. A bunch of other people end up showing up. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. We're seeing a lot of public pressure. Accident reconstruction, as Greg Sollenberger testified, that Mullen was driving 90 miles per hour 5 seconds before the crash and 49 miles per hour less than a second before the collision. Moorshide was not moving 5 seconds before the crash and driving 12 miles per hour at the time of the crash. It's because she was parked at a stop sign, and then she had entered into her lane and was proceeding forward when Mr. Mullen crossed the double line and, hit her head on. So I've reached out to commissioners. I've reached out to the police, everybody, district, county detectives, and I've gotten the same thing at each place that I've reached out for help, and that's either silence or threats of arrest, which is exactly what ended up happening. 2 North Huntingdon charges, 2 in police video incident. Myself and Dustin Loge on July 27th were arrested when we went to the North Huntingdon Police Department to ask questions about methamphetamines that have been found, firearms. We recently had an elderly member of the community assaulted by 2 people down by the McDonald's on Route 30. We had some questions. Why were we videotaping ourselves? Well, because we have a constitutionally protected right to do so. That's a good place to start, in a publicly accessible lobby of a publicly funded building where publicly funded employees work. I understand that they put a sign out front, but I'll state for the record once again, no statute, no policy, nothing. No ordinance to back it up, no meeting minutes to back it up, nothing to back that sign up whatsoever. It's a sign that anybody could order online and put anywhere that they want to put. It has no legislative teeth whatsoever. At best, the North Huntingdon Police Department acted unilaterally to instate legislative things. You can't do that, boys. Sorry, but then again, there's a lot of things you can't do. Take this, for example, the July 27th arrest. You write in the affidavit of probable cause that myself and Mr. Lowe's were then processed, and then we were released and told we'd get a summons. Well, I have never seen a processing happen before a summons. You took us into custodial detention and processed us, seizing our biometric information, our fingerprints, our photos. You took notes on all of my tattoos, which you should have all those notes anyway. I haven't gotten anything new since we, last ran into each other on bad terms. But nonetheless, you do all these things, and then you seize almost $4,000 worth of equipment from me and refuse to give me a signed receipt so that I have a copy of what you're taking from me. Mind you, again, without a warrant, without an affidavit of probable cause being written, was not written until the next day, and without an issuing authority, you took my insanity. And then I'm going straight to a retired judge up in Greensburg, and that's on September 19th. So make sure you hit the follow button and stay tuned, because this is far from over. Now I have criminal cases for demanding justice for my family. And I mean, wouldn't you know, the judge at this hearing decides that everything you need to file charges for that felony 3 are present, and that there is no reason to drop that charge. I mean, especially if the victim doesn't want to drop the charge. There's no, the victim has far more power in the courts than what they're allowing the victim to exercise. I know that there's some people out there, and I hope this video gets across your screen, but you must be vocal. You must be vocal. If you're not okay with a plea that's happening, if you're not okay with what they're calling justice, and you think that there is more that should be done, then you need to put that on the record. And then should it be found that you were right, then you can double back later and start holding people accountable. But if you don't say anything, if you sit back silently, if you allow them to tell you that your best option is to not use your voice, I mean, freedom of speech is like, to me, in my personal opinion, is the most fundamental. of all of our rights. If you can't speak, then what do you have? If you have no voice, what do you have? You know, that's part of why this Accountability Now Norwin movement is so important to me, because I see so many people that have a story but have no voice. And I know what it's like to walk around with a story and no voice, and it's a painful existence at times. And I was able to, you know, I was blessed enough to find my voice along my journey through life. And I've honed that skill of using my voice. And I've used my voice on many occasions over the last decade, 10, 15 years. And then, you know, I used my voice, and then I fell back into, you know, trying to start a business for myself and do all kinds of things for my family. And now here I am back on the front lines using my voice again. And happy to do so, especially in defense of my family and my community. So let's just show you guys real quick what that looked like, that arrest on July 27th.
There'll be no peace. There'll be no peace. There'll be no peace.
And you can see right there, that's all the equipment I had. So even though they didn't give me a receipt, I can't identify everything that I had. So like my 2 terabyte memory bank that's not listed in the affidavit is something you took off me, only a 128 SanDisk drive. I'm going to be needing all of that back, guys. I'm going to be needing all of it. But then it gets even better, right? So these charges, as I said, arrest happened on the 27th, affidavit of probable cause happened on the 28th, yet we were processed before that. And then the charges were officially filed on July 29th. So then I go to the township meetings in August to put it on the record that this was an unlawful arrest, that it was a strong arm robbery. I was tied up, had my possessions seized, I was photographed, fingerprinted, and kicked out the front door.
5 minutes, everybody.
Well, see, now you're in a pickle because I'm being real reasonable here with you. I'm giving you no reason to sick your goons on me. I'm just asking that the record, I would just like the record to be clear. I'm not done. So you're telling me that if I don't stop, that you will have, there's consequences. I mean, I said I'll leave. Okay, okay, you guys are going to come escort me out then?
Unless you don't leave by yourself.
Well, I don't. I'm just trying to get the man to just say it for the record, McCurdy. I don't want no problems. I'm just asking for him to clearly state for the record. That's it.
Nobody wants problems.
Well, can you please just state it for the record?
I'm asking your time's up, so you can either sit down or leave. It's up to you.
Okay, so if I don't
Sit or go.
So if I don't forfeit my rights, I'm going to be escorted out. That's how this works. In North Huntingdon Township, if the citizen doesn't bow to the ruler, is this real life? This is real? This is happening. Rich Gray, you're okay with this, sir? Okay, well, I'm going to take off, guys. The one thing I'll say is I have pictures of black mold in the high school. I would suggest not giving them a reduction on the building fee until they address the issues in the high school.
All right, Al.
It's just more of our money being thrown down the toilet.
My name's Alan.
Well, I was removed from that meeting too, or at least asked to leave, because I didn't want to forfeit my time to put my serious grievance on the matter. Because while I've always admitted, and I do not dispute, that courts have ruled that they can set time limits to keep order in the meeting. I mean, you know, if you have 100 people show up at your meeting, it's just everybody can't have unlimited time. So they say, hey, 5 minutes should suffice. And I agree that on most grievances, just common township grievances that every township experiences, that, 5 minutes is a pretty good amount of time to get your point across on, why you're upset about what's going on. And the key point that I'm making here is your standard grievances. Well, a 90 mile an hour and a 35 car crash where no crash investigator was sent to the scene, no blood alcohol, no field sobriety tests whatsoever, a mother and small child on their way to a level 2 trauma center, and you allowed the defendant's father onto the scene. He refuses medical attention and they usher him off, only for you to then release their car to their insurance company, where it was then reported as a single car accident. Well, now we're describing a cover-up. That is not a standard township problem. It may be common, but it's not supposed to. It's not supposed to come as a standard problem. It's wrong. It's not right. It's disgusting. And what's even more disgusting is your abuse of the rules and your total disregard for the rules most of the time in not allowing me to play by the rules that I've taken time to educate myself on so I can beat you. Because, see, that's why you're doing unlawful arrest, is because you know that if you play by the rules, especially against an American citizen that you've wronged, that you're going to lose because I've documented everything that you've done. But anyway, so the July 29 charges are filed, and then I'm at the meeting, I leave, and I get approached by Joey Napsha. And Joey Napsha comes up to me like I'm some rabid dog. He's got his hands out and things like that. And he wants a comment on my recent arrest. But
On what?
On the disrupting the meeting charge.
Did they charge me?
Yeah, I think they. Oh, you didn't.
Oh, you mean a while ago?
No, I mean like this week. So maybe.
Wait.
Okay.
The only summons I've gotten are for the thing at the police
Well,
department.
then you'll get another one.
Oh, they're charging me with something else.
Well, disrupting the meeting because you went past the 5-minute mark.
Oh, that's what they're doing right now?
Well, no. The police filed the charges with the magistrate, so you haven't gotten the summons yet.
Well, when did they file them? Would
Like
be my
on the 11th. I'm sorry, here. That's summons.
Nice. Well, I mean, I don't know what you want me to say, Joe. I have to believe that you've been around in this country long enough to know that there is something seriously wrong with what they're doing. I mean, look, man, look.
Well, you know,
Look,
what they said, okay, I'm just saying, you know, it was over the 5-minute mark,
if
you wouldn't stop.
I know you're not. I know you're not, Joe. But this is what you guys should be writing about right now, okay? Because this is the issue.
Yeah.
There are rules that even our own township mentions. This is from the township policy. You know that they need.
He said, you must not have got the paperwork in the mail. Next day, I get the paperwork in the mail. It's from a July 16th meeting, right? Where they said that I disrupted the meeting. In the article, you know, it states I spoke for 6 minutes instead of 5. So here's a clip from that, you know, July 16th meeting where this disruption charge stems from. Notice at no time do I resist leaving. I've never put the police in a position where they needed to be physical with me. I've always stated that I'll leave under duress or I'll leave under fear of retaliation, because it really makes no sense to get into a physical altercation when you're unarmed and these guys have guns. I wouldn't advise anybody get into a confrontation with somebody you know to be armed and you're not armed in the same capacity, right? And even if you were armed in the same capacity, you're not going to ever be able to defend yourself fairly against a police officer in the United States of America, because it will always be framed as, you know, that thin blue line. They never do anything wrong. This guy was a maniac. So it's like, that's the saddest part. I think all of this is, you know, in our current state right now, you kind of have to just endure the abuse, because what you're seeing here, me being marched out of the meeting like this, is an abuse of power. It's official oppression. It's deprivation of constitutional rights under color of law. I mean, this is, basically what I'm showing you guys right now is federal crimes being committed. Crimes. These are crimes against the people that they are doing. So anyway, that affidavit for the charges that came about from this incident, it begins with, on July 29th, which again, remember, it happens to be the date the unlawful charges were found, I was assigned to investigate. Wait a second. There's 3 officers here. So if this crime occurred, this disrupting a meeting, which I believe is subsection 5508. Don't, you know, if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments, but I believe that's it. 55, subsection 5508. If it happened, then that means there was 3 officers that witnessed it. Lieutenant McCurdy with his fancy little, you know, gold badge, Andy Carter, and Sergeant Bauer, who is involved in the unlawful arrest from July 27th. Why are they not the ones writing up these charges? Why are they being filed on August 13th after an unlawful arrest was filed? I mean, why wasn't this handled promptly? No, it's because they're stacking charges on me right now. This is like textbook tyrant retaliation. They want to bury me in fears and worries and consequence because they can't stop me. There's one way that they can stop me, and I think that they know that that would cause some public outrage at this stage in the game. I think they finally identified that I do have a strong network, that I have now awoken the people within North Huntingdon, and some of them are jumping into this network that has been up and running and going. I mean, I joined the network. I didn't start, you know. Do you really think that from July 7th, 2024 until now, I learned all this stuff? I've been at this for a long, long time, ladies and gentlemen. I've just always been the person behind the scenes that's been helping. You know, I like to help. I like to participate. I like to feel like I'm doing some good in the world, you know? And I've always been extremely private about what I do. I don't boast about what I do. But when you assault my family in the manner that you do, and you weaponize the institutions that are put in place to protect them as victims, as women, as children, and then when I stand in the gap, as it is my duty to do so, and then enforce the contract of the United States of America, which is our Constitution, and within that Constitution you will find our Bill of Rights, and you will find our amendments. And when I step in to enforce those things upon you guys, because you work for the people, you gain your authority and your power from the sovereignty of the people, and then you maliciously and relentlessly attack me, how do you think the people were going to react to this? And then my entire issue this entire time has now been proven a reality through this defense tried everything. And Chuck Porter is no slouch. He is a good defense attorney. And I have a really good idea about where this is headed because I know he's a good defense attorney. And all I can say is that there's no way to protect Mullen and shield the township from liability and the police from liability at the same time. It's impossible. Because listen, you guys will just have to keep following and watching. I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody, but trust me, it's impossible at this stage in the game to shield Nolan Patrick Mullen from consequence and Greg Arendez, Chief Rizzo, Ron Zona, Nicole Ziegler. I mean, everybody who played a part in this attempt, Aaron Nutter, badge number 77, the first person on scene, out jogging, here's the accident, first responder to the scene, and he's not mentioned in any report. His name doesn't come up until later on down the road. And I can tell you this, Chief Rizzo, because I know that it is killing you where I'm getting this information from. And all I can tell you, sir, is that it is coming in from every direction. When you abuse a people for this long, and then somebody steps up with the willingness and the courage and just, and says, no, enough is enough, and they stand their ground, and then they begin to beat you at your, I mean, man, it's hard to even describe what you guys are doing. It's so criminal. Then they start saying, hey, we can give them information. We're not going to come to the front lines, but we'll give the guy some information. And then as time progresses, Rizzo, and you keep your word to your sources and you say, I'll never give you up. And more people see, oh, he's giving all this good information. It's checking out and we don't know where he's getting it from. Then they say, well, I got some information for him too. Maybe I'll shoot it over to him. Clearly he's not telling people where he's getting it from. You've lost control of the township, sir. You've lost control of the department. You never should have had control of either. Firstly, you're not entitled to control of the township. And secondly, you've never been a leader, not a day in your life. You're a yes man follower with a smile. And now you're trying to play the people for fools by showing up in your dress whites. And it's over. And I'll give it to you, Chief. One of the comments I hear the most about you, not necessarily online, but in my personal conversations with people, is that I would have never guessed that Bob Rizzo would be a part of something like this. So you had them all fooled, Bob. Rich, you still have a couple people fooled. And all I can say to those people who still have faith in any of those commissioners up there, or any of the lawyers they present us, or Harry Falk as a township manager, is that more will be revealed. My suggestion to the victims out there: stand united, stand in one voice. Do not say anything that you cannot prove. And when you go to say it as loud as you can. And if you need help saying it loud, please reach out to us at Accountability Now Norwin. I would like to help those who are ready to start telling their story. Pain shared is pain lessened. Honesty is the antidote to what we are suffering right now, which is a spiritual malady in North Huntingdon. And I said it during one of my addresses to the board, that the problem that we suffer today is spiritual in nature. And I see that my camera cut out, so I guess that's a good indication that it's time to end this video. I'm not sure when it cut out, but as always, I appreciate those of you that have been following along since the beginning. I'm especially appreciative of those that are showing up now, because this is when things start heating up. This is when we really got to start paying attention. I have a criminal case coming up on September 19th. That's this year, 2025, at the Greensburg Courthouse. In front of a retired judge. Now, mind you, I haven't been to a magistrate on any of these charges, so we are skipping the magistrate and going right to a retired judge at the Common Pleas in Greensburg. But until the next video, guys, please be safe. Please look out for each other. I was blessed today to speak to yet another person that had responded to the scene that I'm just hearing about today, and they were able to provide me with some more photos and some more videos and some more insight into what was going on the scene that day. And what I can say is this: when we spoke with Anthony Lamorelli at the courthouse when we were leaving, he indicated that the Mullins' main concern is that he doesn't have a felony on his record. And I politely told Mr. Lamorelli that he was speaking to somebody who at 19 years old in that very same courthouse acquired 3 felonies with no shot at redemption. And I've carried those with me, right? I took responsibility for what I did. I did my time, and I've walked my entire life with these felonies. So we're not much concerned with, their family's concern whether he gets felony or not. That's non-negotiable. However, at the time of this conversation, we were thinking, maybe we could negotiate on the jail time. I think it's a 7-month sentence would be the guideline. Maybe we can come down off that a little. But I have to admit myself, and I'll have to discuss this with Jordan's mother, but after getting the videos I got today and the insight that I got today, I'm not too sure that we should even be willing to negotiate on the jail time at this stage. So, please continue to keep our community in our prayers, your prayers. I pray constantly right now while I'm in the middle of this, but please keep our family in your prayers, our community. And again, please look out for each other out there, because there's nobody coming to save us.